Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building the Tamiya 1/35 scale British cruiser tank, the Crusader Mark III. Now this is in cooperation between Tamiya and Italeri. They've taken the Italeri kit that's been out for a little while and they've retooled some new parts and also have freshened up some of the older stuff as well. So it looks like it's a pretty easy and straightforward kit to put together. Only 3 sprues in the entire box plus the tracks. So it's also a subject that I haven't done too much British stuff lately, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to do that. So enough talking and let's get started. Okay, as you see as we start off the kit, it's a bathtub style hull. Now keep in mind this was a older Italeri kit that the molds have all been freshened up and they've retooled some other pieces inside there. Now I've never built the original kit from Italeri a while back, so I'm not quite sure what was touched up and what was new. But the molds overall look pretty good in here. There's no flash or anything, at least on the kit that I have here. And it looks like it's going to be a fairly simple kit to put together. There are a total of 3 sprues and probably about 100 parts total. So it's something that can be definitely accomplished in a couple of days, and with don't need a ton of modeling skills to build something like that. So I would definitely recommend this for a beginner. Okay, I've got all of the sub-assemblies built up here, and they were pretty easy and straightforward to put together. So with that, we can start attaching them to the vehicle. And I dry fitted everything a little while ago and everything seemed to fit pretty well, so I don't think we're going to have any problems with that. And I'll just kind of show you how the basic for all the bins kind of line up on that. So and then this little driver's hatch goes on right in the front here. So what I'll do is I'm going to glue on all these other parts and we'll come back and start working on the turret. Okay, I was taking the tracks off of their little sprue end, and I snapped part of the center piece out of this, but it actually turned out to be a good thing because the other side of the tracks I took off, and they're a little bit too large for the vehicle, about by 1 length. But they take super glue very well. So what we'll do is we'll just wrap this around, super glue it, and the top of the wheels and track are not seen anyway because of the side skirts. So we'll just super glue this into place like that, and we won't have to worry about attaching the rest of the track. Okay, with the track glued down in place, we can now attach the upper part of the hull, and that should click right into place. We'll glue that down, but I kind of wanted just to show you too, with the fenders on, put that into place. You can see how the top of the wheels and the track is hidden. So this last little part here not matching up perfectly is not going to matter too much. As you can see, I'm starting to assemble a lot of the sub-assemblies. But one part that I wanted to upgrade was going to be the barrel on the kit. Just a big seam and stuff to have to sand out. And I happen to have had a barrel, metal barrel with the counterweight on the end that actually fits this vehicle. I thought this was the perfect opportunity to use it. So what we'll go ahead and do is just taking a razor saw, just chop off the front of the barrel. And of course we're gonna have to hollow this out a little bit to get this to slide into it, but that shouldn't be very difficult to do. And we'll plug this in, just making sure that it's gonna stick out the exact same amount that the real barrel will work, and then we should be able to plug it right in to have all the other pieces fit right onto it, and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna hollow out this, get this glued into place, and I'll start showing you the rest of the assembly. I've begun gluing the two halves of the turret together. And then of course the gun will just pop right into here, and you can see that it's just got some nice detail to that gun. Looks really good, and no have to worry about any barrel seam on it as well. I also have the little tiny machine gun barrel that will stick out over in there as well, and that we'll go ahead and glue that in. I'm going to probably have to put some kind of filler behind it to fill in, because there's not anything for it to attach inside there, but we can probably take the other half of the machine gun that goes inside there, cut that off, and just attach this really nice brass barrel to it. Okay, kind of want to go over what we've done. I've skipped ahead a little bit and added most of the accessory parts onto it, all the little grab handles and antennas. I did cut the antennas that came with the kit off because I thought they were a little bit out of scale, and we went and stretched some sprue to create these, and I think they're a little bit more accurate in the way they are. We also went ahead and attached the metal gun barrel for the machine gun, which proved to be a little bit more difficult than I originally thought, because the barrel of it, so much of it is inside, you had to leave part of the plastic barrel behind, and getting those lined up perfectly was a little bit of trouble, but worked out pretty good. And I think that metal barrel really does add a lot, as well as the metal gun barrel for here. You'll also notice I started doing a little filling with my Vallejo putty, which I love this stuff right here, and just using a wet Q-tip we can get it filled in all those little areas. Kind of started doing there's just some minor little things. The fit is actually pretty good overall on this kit. Nothing major that we've had to do. Just like I said, just a tiny bit of filling here and there. Kit went together very well. This is probably a grand total of maybe about 7 hours of actual building, and that's letting things dry, things like that. So now that we have it at this point, I'm going to go ahead, do some little bit of detail sanding and filling like I was telling you earlier. Then we're going to go ahead and paint the entire model black. And I saw some pictures online of this type of vehicle, and it was in the Desert Rats camouflage, which was, believe it or not, it was a black and then like a desert tan. So the black that we'll be putting on right there will be our base coat, and also part of the camouflage that we'll put on this. So I'm going to finish that up, and we'll come back and start painting. While the paint is drying on the tank, I'd also thought I would show you that Tamiya's included a two-man crew. Some of the newer figures, you can see, hopefully, detail on that. And they also included a new gun set with new tools. Now we'll put the tools on after we're completely painted like we usually do, but guns and things look to be really nice. Probably won't do the figures, because figures, for me, I'm not an excellent figure painter, and it does take quite a bit of time, but we will definitely put all those tools all over the vehicle. Okay, I've got the entire model all masked off. We're going to try to do the hard edge desert rat camouflage job, which will be putting the desert yellow paint all over the areas here. I think, even though there's a few little gaps, I think if we shoot with the airbrush at a 90-degree angle to all of the masks, that we should get a nice solid line on that. But we'll give it a try and see how it comes out. I just pulled the tape off the vehicle, and actually was kind of okay with the way it turned out. I will have to do a little touch up, especially around the rubber, around the wheels and things like that, but overall I think it's going to turn out pretty good. And any of the areas that we got the slight little bit of bleed through, the vehicle is going to be weathered for a desert application anyway, so it's going to kind of add to that effect. But you can see how they use this for off on the horizon to break up the silhouette of the vehicle. It looks kind of cool that way. So I'm going to do a little bit more touch up on it right now and start working on painting her over the wheels, things like that, and we'll come back and then start showing you the weathering. Okay, I did a little touch up work on the vehicle here, and want to talk to you guys about a product that I used that helped me quite a bit on this. And I am super excited about this product because there was a few edges and a few areas that I wanted to do some more black, but it was just kind of hard to airbrush, things like that. So I thought, hey, you know what? There's new paint retarder out from Tamiya, and I thought I'd give this stuff a shot to see how well it worked. And it worked incredibly. I put just like 3 drops in a little area with probably maybe about 20 drops of Tamiya paint. The paint worked so well that I was able to hand brush and patch some areas that had a little bleed through, and you can see a little bit of it. It's still, this I put on about 10 minutes ago, and it's still not 100% dry because it slows the drying down so much, and it also really makes the paint level out. So I was able to go into some areas and add extra dots, fill in some areas, paint around the road wheels, and none of that pull up. Like sometimes when you have Tamiya paint and you paint it, and if it dries even for a second because it dries so fast, you go over it again, it'll pull up what you already did. None of that happened at all on this. In fact, I did some extra little circles, added extra dots to some areas, and was just super impressed with this new product. So I'm gonna have to say, this is a game changer when it comes to hand brushing Tamiya paint, because this paint retarder, and especially for such a small amount to work with, I actually had to go help a customer in the little pot that I had put this paint into. I came back 15 minutes later, and the paint had not skinned over, which if any of you have ever left a bottle of Tamiya paint open, you see how fast the top dries up. Completely stopped that. So I'm going to do a little bit more on it because I was just so excited. I just wanted to get on camera and tell you guys right away. And even patching up some of the areas, whoop, knocked off the thing. I got to glue that back on now. But patching up and making some of the circles more round, it just worked incredibly on it. It's just fabulous stuff. So if you can find it, highly recommend picking this up. Okay, we've shot a coat of Tamiya's dull coat over the top of it, or their flat clear, to seal in all of our paint job. Now what I've done is I've mixed up a brand new bottle of our chipping agent, or chipping color, I should say. The chipping color is 70% NATO brown, 30% NATO black. I've also put a couple of drops of the paint retarder in, and I thought that would help out with some of the chips and some of the scratches so they won't stick out so much. And we're gonna do it 2 different ways. We're gonna use a real fine pointed brush for doing the small little chips, and then we'll do a little dry brushing with our big flat brush here as well. So to start off, and I'm just gonna show you a bit of the just putting a tiny bit on the edge of our brush, and then just start chipping up some of the areas that you think that the vehicle would get chipped on. Usually like where panels meet, and this is going to be a North African vehicle, so they can get beat up quite a bit. And these are just the small chips to start. Can also make a few little scratches. And we'll do more of that in a little bit, but I'll also just show you some of the dry brushing with the same color paint. Kind of hit some of these areas right here. It really makes the rivets. A tiny bit too much there. And hopefully you can see well enough that the rivets start to really show up a lot better. And we're also going to put some of our Tamiya wash on it as well. But what we'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and doing that same kind of process, basically. Go over the vehicle and start chipping up some of the areas like the bins and all the rivets, things like that on it. And we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've finished up the scratches and chips, and not forgetting to do some of the brown color over the black, as if the black had come off, and even gone through even a little bit of the black and put a little bit of the brown on top of that to match all together, to blend it together. The next step we're going to do is we're going to do a little washing on the entire thing. Now I've started to do this side and it's still drying a little bit, but I'm liking the way it's looking, and you can see it's highlighting even more so all the bolts. And the way we did that is just by simple enough taking our Tamiya brown panel accent line and just brushing a not a lot in the areas, but just enough to cover the panel, make sure it looks kind of wet. And then after that, just taking a dry flat brush and kind of blending it together, taking out some of the excess in some of the middle areas. I'm trying to leave a little bit behind on the rivets. And you see it has a tendency to want to collect in those areas. You can see this is, like I said, this is almost dry now, and you can see how the rivets are all starting to pop out quite a bit. So I think it's looking pretty good that way. So I'm going to go and give it a light wash over the entire vehicle using the brown, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, now we want to get a little accumulation of drier dust on it, and we're going to use, once again, a little more of our Tamiya pigment, panel line, excuse me. And now we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of the Vallejo, and I'm going to use a mixture between the light sienna and a little bit of desert dust so it lightens it up a little bit. We'll start off with the light sienna, kind of tap that into place on these areas, and then go over it with a little bit more on top. Now don't forget, it's getting wet, so it's going to look different once it dries. A little extra on here. And we'll let that dry for a little while longer. And this side I've kind of started to do, and it's drying as we go, and you can see the look we're going for, how there's a little accumulation of dirt and then the last thing we'll do after we do the entire vehicle like this is we're going to shoot it with one coat of buff coat, and that's going to kind of blend everything together and lighten everything down slightly. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up putting the dust on it as well as the tracks inside here, and we're going to come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, here we are. Here's our completed model. I did go ahead and spray the entire thing with the XF57, the buff, to kind of give it a, to blend everything together and knock down some of the harsher colors to it. Kind of go around the vehicle. I did put some large scratches on like decks and things like that just to kind of make it pop out a little bit. And then once you put between the dust coat and the Vallejo pigments, I think it adds a nice little desert effect to this vehicle. The kit itself, like I was saying earlier, is 3 total sprues, not counting the figures. There are a couple of figures included in as well, and very nice kit. I never built the original Italeri version of this, so I'm not too sure what are the new parts compared to the old, but everything went together great. I had no problems with fit, other than a couple little minor things that a little putty took care of in a matter of just a couple of minutes. So if you're looking for a nice, easy to put together kit, this kit will be available in the United States, from what I understand, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And same probably with Asia and Europe as well. They might actually already be out over there as well. But very nice, and I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have more videos coming.